Uncertainty is an uncomfortable position, but certainty is an absurd one. Voltaire. Humanity has developed numerous belief systems, aka religions, with estimates ranging from 4,000 to over 10,000 current religions, including many niche faiths and denominations. But over human history, there have been likely millions of different religions practiced by an unbelievably wide range of different groups, tribes, and communities, beginning as far back as 200,000 years ago. And the vast majority of individuals within these religions believe what they believe with absolute confidence, even though millions of other people believe different things with the same level of certainty. This level of confidence has gotten many people killed, and one of them was John Allen Chau, a missionary who was 100% convicted in his beliefs, and this confidence and dedication led to his death. He risked everything to spread his faith, but was it faith or delusion? Today we'll look into his story and then consider the question: where does this confidence come from? And how can so many people be so certain in their religious belief beyond any doubt, without much, if any, real physical or scientific evidence, to the point that they are willing to put their lives on the line over it? John Allen Chau was a 26-year-old American missionary who believed he had been called by God to bring Christianity to one of the last uncontacted tribes on earth, the Sentinelese of North Sentinel Island. Uncontacted tribes live primarily in the Amazon rainforest and isolated areas of Papua New Guinea, fiercely resisting outside contact and residing in dense jungles and remote islands. Because of their isolation and lack of advanced medicine and vaccines, they are vulnerable to disease. For this reason, along with the extreme danger they present, North Sentinel Island is strictly off limits under Indian law. Chau knew this. He knew previous attempts at contact had ended in arrows and deaths. Still, he paid local fishermen to illegally take him to the island, made multiple landings, and even returned after being shot with an arrow. Chau was born in 1991 in the United States and raised in a deeply evangelical Christian environment. From a young age, he was taught that spreading the gospel was not just important, but a moral obligation, a calling that outweighed personal safety, comfort, or even life itself. He attended Christian schools, participated in missionary training programs, and became affiliated with an evangelical organization focused on reaching what they call unreached peoples. In his journals and letters, Chau described a lifelong desire to become a missionary, viewing hardship and danger as proof of devotion rather than warning signs. By his mid-20s, he had come to believe that bringing Christianity to the Sentinelese, one of the most isolated tribes in the world, was his divine mission. And so he made multiple attempts to reach the island and somehow bring the word of Christ to the Sentinelese. On his first encounter, he was met with hostility and shot with an arrow, which pierced his Bible. Any rational person would interpret this as a clear rejection and never try again. Although then again, would a rational person even attempt to approach this island in the first place? Chau, of course, returned again, completely alone, carrying religious items and singing hymns, believing faith would overcome resistance. Shortly after landing on the island, he was killed. Witnesses reported seeing his body dragged across the beach. Indian authorities never recovered his remains, citing both legal restrictions and the risk of contact. In the aftermath, reactions were sharply divided. While some did hail Chau as a martyr who died for his faith, others saw his actions as reckless, illegal, and dangerously arrogant, not just to himself, but to the vulnerable tribe with no immunity to modern diseases. What stood out the most when I read about Chau was not simply what he believed, but how certain he was. His writings showed no meaningful doubt, only conviction, the same kind of absolute confidence held by millions of people across countless religions, all mutually exclusive, all believed with total certainty. If you're watching this, you or someone you know has this type of confidence in their religion. This video is not an attack on religion at all. Everyone has the right, myself included, to believe whatever they believe about why we are here and how we are here. But from a psychological perspective, where does the confidence come from? And why is this confidence oftentimes more important than evidence, consent, or human life? In one of his final journal entries, Chau wrote, "You may think I'm crazy in all this, but I think it's worth it to declare Jesus to these people." He also asked that no one be angry with the Sentinelese, writing that his death, if it came, would be part of God's plan. There was no panic or hesitation in his words, just calm, absolute certainty. He essentially went on a suicide mission because he was so sure that his religion was correct and whatever religion these people might already be practicing, if any, was completely wrong. And that's where my curiosity peaks. Chau's attitude is not unique. It is universal. In an attempt to dive into this human phenomenon, the first thing to note is that religious belief is rarely discovered. It is usually inherited. People almost always believe the religion of their parents, their community, or the place they were born. A child born in rural Texas, overwhelmingly likely to become Christian. A child raised in Saudi Arabia, overwhelmingly likely to become Muslim. And a child born in India is far more likely to be a Hindu. These beliefs were introduced and ingrained in the child before critical thinking is ever developed. Psychologically, beliefs formed in childhood are different from ideas learned later in life. They become part of identity, not just an opinion. By the time a person is old enough to question them, the beliefs are already a part of who they are. Of course, everyone around them believing the same thing only reinforces the belief system. Psychologists call this identity fusion. A belief system fuses so tightly with personal identity that separating the two feels impossible. And when someone else questions their belief, it can be taken as a personal attack, an attack on themselves, their family, their upbringing, and their entire moral framework. Hence why religion should not be discussed over Thanksgiving. But this fusion creates extraordinary confidence, and when one of them is attempting to spread their religion, there is no discussions to be had, no debate over who's right or wrong. The believer is 100% right in their mind, and the other party, should they believe something else, is 100% wrong, because admitting doubt would mean unraveling relationships, social standing, and one's sense of meaning. So the mind protects itself the only way it can, by becoming more certain and more convinced, instead of more relaxed and open to the possibility that maybe it's just a belief, an opinion, in a world in which, in the bigger picture, we are all basically brand new to. Moving into another factor, at its core, religion offers something the human brain desperately wants: certainty in the face of death. Humans are uniquely aware that life ends, and that awareness creates anxiety that most people are still not equipped to deal with. Religion steps in with the answers, absolute ones. It explains why suffering exists, what happens after death, and how to avoid meaninglessness. Humans have been coming up with religious beliefs for as long as we've been humans to help calm the mind and reduce fear. It's also a way to deal with the hardships of life, including illness and the loss of loved ones. But belief does not exist in isolation. It's constantly shaped and reinforced by the people around us. Religious communities reward certainty with belonging, approval, and moral status. Confidence is praised as faith. Doubt is treated as weakness, rebellion, or failure. This is why the commonly used question exists within some sections of the Christian faith. If you died today, are you 100% certain that you would go to heaven? Many, if not most Christians would answer, yes, absolutely. But no amount of conviction can override the possibility of human error. A human saying they are 100% sure means nothing except that that person is extremely confident, which doesn't mean much, and it does not make them correct. Which brings us back to John Allen Chau's story. A story that is shocking, not because he had a religious belief, but because he believed with enough certainty to put his life in mortal danger, moving forward against all odds, against every logical thought process. It has been said, what did he think was going to happen? He truly believed God would protect him and create a path for him to bring Jesus to the people of North Sentinel Island. His tragedy shows what happens when confidence outweighs caution, evidence, or respect for others' autonomy. Humans are wired to seek meaning, comfort, and social acceptance, and religion provides all three, rewarding certainty above all else. But I hope Chau's story is a warning. Absolute certainty can be deadly, not just for those who hold it, but for anyone in their path. And if billions of people can be so sure about completely different, incompatible beliefs, perhaps it's worth asking, should we admire the confidence or question it? I've been asked by religious people, how do I know I'm right about what I believe? And I always respond the same way. I don't know. I'm a brand new visitor to the earth, which has been here for billions of years, and I'm supposed to not only have all the answers, but be absolutely 100% confident in those answers? Maybe I'm different, but my mind does not operate like that, and I wish that were the same for John Allen Chau. who would still be here even if he believed whatever he was taught to believe, but was at least willing to let others believe what they believe in peace. At the end of the day, it's like Socrates said, "The only thing I know is I know nothing." Let me know your thoughts in that comment section down below, and I look forward to talking to y'all again in the next video.